Welcome to the Lutetia Lounge. Produced by Studio Whacked.
Many years you were away at war for what, 9-10 months a year or something like that? So and then it must take a toll on your personal life as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, you have several personal lives.
Well, yeah.
You got divorced 4 times.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so obviously that, yeah. I can't imagine because...
It's nearly the same woman with different faces.
Yeah, but I can't imagine. I mean, just amongst my friends, a lot of them are like, she's always trying to get information from me, saying how cold I am. I won't open up. I mean, I can't imagine, like someone, like what would you say? He's like, look, I just hopefully like opening up about what I've been through. I mean,
yeah, you don't really talk about war to people who have not been to war because they're not going to understand, or only 10%. So. My first wife, I didn't have kids with her. She was a dancer at l'Opéra de Paris, a main dancer. She danced with Nureyev.
Okay.
So that was great because when your partner has a passion, if you're not there, it doesn't matter really. She has her passion. And dance is really hard, classic dance. So that was great. It lasted 8 years, which is huge. And when I got married, I left 15 days after marrying her. She was 18 and I was like 20 or something. I left for 1 year. I had her twice on the phone because you didn't have mobile phones then.
Yeah, of course not, yeah.
I went to Mozambique for 1 year. I came back, she was still dancing, still with me. Today, that would not work. I mean, now on the other way,
you'd be getting a lot of texts every day. Where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, you go crazy. And, once I was in Ramallah, on the Palestinian side, and my wife had prepared holidays. I hate that. And
you hate holidays, or her?
I hate holidays. I hate holidays. I mean, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so. She had prepared something in an island, French island, with Club Med. That's even worse.
Organized, yeah.
Yeah, a guy comes with a smile and says, you're going to be happy. And I say, fuck off. Who wants to be happy, with flowers around the neck doing aqua gym?
You might get punched out by some guy, it's a reporter coming back from war.
So she prepared the whole thing, and then I was at the hotel in Ramallah, and at midnight, I heard a noise. A helicopter was standstill in the night over the road, the main road. I went to the window with a friend photographer. A lonely car passed, and the rocket hit the car, destroyed it. And it was the beginning of the invasion of the Israeli tanks in Ramallah. So we were surrounded. They fired at my hotel, at my window. I have pictures of me crawling and the ceiling falling on top of us because they're firing from below, so they're hitting the window and the ceiling. So you have water from the pipes and plaster falling on you and ricochets all over, and you're crawling. And the next day she calls me and says, you're not still in Ramallah? I said, yes, I am. We're leaving tomorrow. And I said, well, I'm sorry, do you think I can say that to the Israeli tanks?
Yeah. And
she got it yelling. Said, you realize in what position you put me? I'm going to have to leave alone with our son. And they're like, well, what can I do? And we get in an argument. I'm in the street. It's shooting everywhere.
Surreal.
So I cut the phone. So, merde.
You hung up, bam.
And a friend photographer is on the other side of the street. He's a friend. He knows her. He knows me. And suddenly I see him grabbing his phone. And he looks at me. He says, your wife.
No.
Because I hung up, she called him, and she started yelling at him, and he's like, and I go, cut the phone. And he said, cut the phone. We nearly got divorced when I came back. She said, are you doing it on purpose? I mean, for once I get to organize a holiday, and you stay with the Israelis and the Palestinians. I said, I don't stay with them, it just happened.
You got trapped there, yeah. It's a little different.
And so it became a problem with some women. Well, they were tough. I mean, they could hold on, but after a while, it's not good for them. It's not they have all the bad things or the good things, but alone. They have to take care of the kids alone. They have to take, so But now, is this the longest? With Anna, I've been 15 years now, which has never happened.
Well, it's good then, right? It's
Yeah,
healthy.
but I'm not traveling that much. I'm only doing like 3 wars a year. That's it. Nothing.
Yeah,
compared to before.
Just 2 or 3, no big deal. It's just like, it's whatever.
It's like, maybe 4
It's like
months.
the little leagues, not the big
4
leagues.
months of war.
Yeah.
So Anna is passionate and she has a job. So when I'm not there, she's not just doing nothing. She makes her documentaries.
It's not waiting for you to come back.
Voilà,
Yeah,
exactement.
yeah.
When you're younger, it's more difficult because a lot of the girls I was with didn't have a job, and they were like, so they would go out without me and eventually meet somebody else, which I can understand. I mean, I was not happy about it, but it's like, being a urgent doctor, a fireman, a policeman. It's the same kind of thing. These guys always have a very chaotic life because you're not there.
They don't
That's
have
it.
the same occupational hazards as you do, but yeah, I mean,
But but
the firemen maybe, the police a little bit, not really.
yeah, but they have strange hours.
Oh, yeah,
they
they
can
have,
get
yeah.
called at 4 a.m.
Or work 36 hours straight if you're in the ER or something like this. Yeah.
So they have the same problem. It's a time
Yeah.
thing that could kill a couple. Of course, I mean, same thing around. There's lots of women now working in this job, and very well, and they all have the same problem, especially when they get like 40. They have to make a decision: am I going to have a kid or a career? Because if you're a woman and you have a kid, that's it. You're going to be out of the game for at least 2 years, and you're going to be replaced by a younger girl immediately, and there's not that much, opportunities. There's just newspapers need maybe 200 photographers around the world, and you have maybe 10,000 photographers trying to do this. So.
When you come back, though, obviously you said you have to, you have a time to adjust and things like that. But do you get restless? I mean, in those sort of down times?
Not really.
No.
When I was very young, I would fight. I would ride my bike around Le Périphérique for 3 hours, full speed at 3 a.m. to get rid of energy.
Get the let out, yeah.
Or I'd take my Mustang when I had my Mustang and drive all the way to Brittany and back, or just go around France alone. But when you get older, you have kids, so that takes a lot of energy anyway. And they grab you, the kids will grab you. And so you're a different person. And I learned to switch, take care of the kids, take care of the house. People are very much in demand, so, makes you... And when you get older, you think before you do stupid things,
Hopefully.
You don't talk about too much. The books helped to get things out.
Like a cathartic...
Yeah. Suddenly you get it out. But I remember I used to go when I was in Miami sometimes I would go to New York because there were shows and rock and roll things. So I would spend 4 days in New York. And I would go to 2 or 3 bars I knew. I remember one day I didn't want to talk to people. I just wanted to be alone in a bar, listening to good music. And suddenly, like in the movies, this glass slid towards me.
In a bar that you just...
Well, I went many times. Mm-hmm. Just this glass suddenly just...
Slid across the bar?
Yeah, somebody just, and it was a whiskey, what I was drinking. And I turned, and I said to the barman, who is it? He said, the guy over there. And the guy had an army vest, and he lifted his glass, and he said, Nam? Vietnam.
Yeah, Nam.
And I said, yeah, me too. And that's it.
So he recognized you?
He didn't recognize me, he recognized the mood.
Oh, he saw it in your eyes?
Yeah. He saw the guy alone, like him, on the end of the bar.
It takes one to know one. So he
said he felt it. And so I walked towards him and said, how was it? I said, well, I wasn't a soldier. I was a photographer. Then he became a little bit,
Back office.
yeah, a little bit. But he said, yeah, I can see that. You like to be alone. I said, yeah. He said, me too. So there was, it's pretty
A
well.
mutual understanding of
Yeah, you can feel the guys coming back. They're not, they're not aggressive, but they don't want to talk for a while. Some guys from Vietnam probably didn't talk for years.
Mm.
They were. The problem with the guys of Vietnam is that when they came back, they were badly treated by their own countrymen.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
So that doesn't help. It's not good therapy. My father was not PTSD because he believed in his war and he was treated as a hero when he came back. If you've lost some friends and suffered, then you come back and people say you're a baby killer and you're an idiot.
Yeah, that can be,
That doesn't help.
could go to a really dark place.
Yeah, that's what happened with this Vietnam generation. They were not recognized as having sacrificed part of their youth fighting for what they believed was right.
Or some of them they weren't asked. They were just drafted. So it wasn't like they had a choice. Otherwise they'd get arrested or they had to run off.
Yeah, so I mean, that was a mistake to treat them like that. It still is, actually.
Mm.
You know, I met some old veterans at the cemetery in Washington. An old guy, he was a half Indian too.
Mm.
And we started talking because he was making a tour of the names on the wall, that big black wall.
Yep.
And asking for like $10, $15 to tourists. And I said, he had the cap, vet of all the, and he was like in a wheelchair. And I said, why are you doing that? I mean, you were wounded. I can see your decorations. You should have some money from the government. He said, no, I have to do this. I don't have, nobody talks to me, nobody helps me. That's horrible.
Yeah, I think that a lot of those people were cut off after a certain
especially
amount of time.
half-breed.
And also, I know that a lot of the people in the late 80s were cut off from getting their medication because they couldn't function in society.
Yeah. Well, there are a
The
lot
same
of them,
way that you would have had you not gone to war when you came,
Yeah, a lot of them also got on drugs because when you get morphine for 6 months, then you get addicted.
Heroin addiction or, you're hooked to opiates.
Yeah. So I remember that when I was in the hospital in Panama, I had this little pump that they left over the bed. So if you feel pain, you pump.
You can just, hit that, yeah.
And after 2 days, I said, take it off.
It's too good.
It's better I take the pain because I could feel, I liked it, It was incredible. Suddenly you have no more body. It's incredible. I could feel, I don't think I'm strong enough to take
To
that.
resist that?
No. So I said, take it away now, So the pain came back. They would give me painkillers from pills, but it's not the same thing. It's not as strong and doesn't go as much in your blood all the time, Because I know a few friends that got on drugs because they were reporters that were badly wounded, and they were on opiaceae for a year, and now they're on drugs, all the time since 20 years. They can't stop. Opium is dangerous,
Any opiate is, yeah.
Yeah, very dangerous. I had once in Vietnam some opium because I had a bad stomach, and I was on a riverboat patrol, and he was a Vietnamese captain, and he stopped at a village in the jungle, and he took me in the village at night, and we had opium, and the pain left. And so I tried to start again in Phnom Penh once, but that was not because I had pain. A French girl, Rosa Zumilder, who's a beautiful French photographer, and she was using opium, and I went with her. Everything was incredible. She had, there was the candle lights, the tea, the Cambodian woman, her with like a light with the color of honey.
Mm-hmm.
And opium, if you're not careful, makes you talk a lot. And I started talking a lot. You must not talk. So I was getting close to her. I was trying to, and I was talking to her about my miserable life and how incredible I was, and man talk, talking about himself.
Yeah.
And I puked on her.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that was the end of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sort
All
of
over her face.
Oh no.
Yeah, you're close when you smoke opium, You're like sleeping side by side. Like, so that was, okay, melt. Well, see you another day.
So that put a damper on that, huh?
Yeah, that was the end of that. We stayed friends, but never closer than 2 meters.
You always at sort of a distance. You were talking about, I guess, some of your friends, reporter friends that were had, I guess, fell victim to opiates. When you're in the field, are you staying with other reporters a lot of the times? Are you staying in the same hotels or camps? Or
No, I avoid that.
You avoid that?
Yeah. Because you see, if you're with friends, you're going to talk a lot. You're not going to talk to the locals. If you're on the field, like 3 or 4 reporters, I'll do it with a few guys. But if I can avoid it, sometimes we have to do it because we don't have money, so we share the same car and the same fixer. But if you're a group like 3 guys, like if we both would go in Ukraine and then you're going to sleep in the trench with the soldiers, we're going to stay together, and the soldiers, by respect, and they're young, they may be impressed, they'll be on their side, and there'll be the 2 reporters on their side. They'll bring you coffee and tea. If I'm alone, they'll say, come with us.
Okay.
And then you're with them, and then you talk with them.
And you can kindle some kind of relationship where you can create
it's more
trust.
easy, but if you're more than one, you're a different group. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason, I don't want to be responsible of somebody getting killed or wounded because I made a move and he followed me.
Yeah.
And plus that, usually the guys are too heavy for me to carry them anyway. So if he's wounded, I'm going to have to carry him, and I'm not going to take pictures while I'm carrying him. I'm going to lose the opportunity to work, and I'm going to carry this fat guy. It happened to me once. I had to carry a friend, Alfred Yakovzadeh. I was in Chechnya, in Grozny. He got a shrapnel through the la vessie. It went through the low bowels, and he was very...
Your bladder. Your bladder.
And he was very badly hurt and infected, a big shrapnel, like a Zippo,
Oh, whoa.
And at one moment, we had to evacuate him from the hospital. He was going to die of infection. So I called Paris. They found a medical plane, but it was outside of Chechnya, in Mineral Vode, which is in Ingushetia. So I had to find an ambulance, which was a Lada, a brake Lada, which is small, so his feet was sticking out of the back. It was snowing, muddy, Russians bombing. So we took a hard trip. He was screaming in pain. And then we had to cross the border on foot, which was about 2 kilometers on foot. And we got ambushed, so we had to run. And then I couldn't run more with him. He was too heavy. I buried him in the snow.
Oh my gosh.
To try and find a way out and then come back for him, because we were all going to get killed. And the guy who was helping me was a Chechen guy. He had this big black leather raincoat, like a SS. And he was supposed to be from the Ministry of Tourism. And when they fired at us, I was starting to think, okay, we bury this guy in the snow, give him a shot of against the pain. And we tried to talk to these guys, yell at them that we're peaceful. And this guy opened his trench, took out an AK-47 and started firing back. So that was it. That's the Minister of Tourism. The Chechen way.
He just pulls out of that.
So I was a bit surprised, and there goes my negotiation. So
do you normally carry a gun?
No, never.
No, but you
it
always...
happens.
Sometimes.
But we don't carry guns. We're reporters.
Yeah, but it's
sometimes in a situation where you're not a reporter for a while, going from point A to point B, which is a dangerous trip. Like when we were in Syria, the driver had an AK-47 between me and him. It was his gun, not mine. And he would tell me, okay, I have a bullet in the chamber. You just need to take off the security and we can fire in case we're attacked.
But you know how to use guns.
Yeah. And so then if I'm attacked, I'll use it. But I'm not going to carry it on. Now, once I get to the point B, I'm with soldiers. So I'm a reporter again. If I'm alone, it happened once in Vietnam on a big ambush.
I was going to ask you if in Vietnam you didn't.
In the jungle.
Yeah.
So they gave me a Colt 45.
Okay.
And a grenade.
Hell, just give me a grenade.
Well, if the guy gets too close, he'd say, okay, take care of that grenade, and then you run. And so, you know, we're a non-combat, but if need be, for your protection, there's no law that says you can't protect yourself. You're just a man protecting himself. But we try to avoid that. First of all, it's heavy.
Yeah.
You already have your cameras. You know, carrying an M16 or an M14.
Well, I mean, I thought you maybe had a pistol just in case or something like that.
If you're taken prisoner with a pistol,
they'll probably kill you.
Yeah. And well, they'll kill you anyway. The Russians. I lost my fixer. He was killed.
Oh wow.
He was an Ukrainian photographer, Max Levin, very good photographer, very famous in Ukraine.
And this is recently.
Yeah, there was the first trip in Ukraine.
So 5 or 6 years ago?
No, he was killed in February or March 2022.
Okay, so this is one of your later trips then, okay.
I joined up with him and asked him if he wanted to be my fixer. He spoke English. He had been covering the story for years, so he knew all the army guys, so I got all the authorizations with him. He could translate. He had a good four-wheel drive Jeep. He was tough, he was brave, so it was good to work with him. And we got separated because he wanted to take care of his family, and we said we'll meet, I'll go from east to west, and you'll go from west to east, and we'll meet on the front line. He never made it. He was taken prisoner and then executed by the Russians.
Oh, Jesus.
And they knew he was he had press written on his bulletproof jacket, he had his cameras, he had press on his helmet. They took his cameras off, took his bulletproof jacket off, shot an AK in his chest. He dropped. Then they shot him 2 bullets in the head with a pistol. So that's execution of a reporter. So, yeah, that was a big loss, a great guy. So I know that the Russians don't respect the press.
And yet you still go back.
Yeah, well, just don't get caught by the Russians.
Yeah, but I mean, what's your biggest motivator for going back? Are you addicted to the game?
Well,
is there like that? Is it that?
I like the job. I like the adventure. I like the danger, the physical part.
Because it is sort of a drug in a way.
It's not a drug.
Like an adrenaline rush.
I mean, I haven't been going for 2 months. I just feel a little bit bored sometimes, but I'm not. You know, it's okay. I think that. Maybe the adrenaline drives you more when you're younger, but after you feel responsible for what you're doing. I mean, usually I make jokes all the time, but I do my work seriously. And we have a responsibility, and I felt it pretty fast. Like, first of all, when you start this job, you're doing for personal reasons. Killing your father, you know, make him better than him, looking for adventure, for adrenaline, trying to forget who you are, to make yourself a hero, whatever. But when you're facing the pain, the loss of kids, the sadness, the horror, if there's no witness, there's no crime. And suddenly you realize you're the only witness. Then you have a mission. Then you believe in your job. And then you forget all the personal stuff in front of the pain of the people, how much they suffer. And they go towards you and say, please take my picture, tell my story, please. Don't leave me alone. You're like a shrink for them, nearly, or a friend, or a brother. They want the world to know. And you're the only guy who's going to tell that. So you feel suddenly compelled to what you're doing, to your mission. not only for them, but also for people who are in Paris, in London, in Germany, wherever, who can't go to the war but need to know what's happening. So you believe in your job suddenly, and it's like a mission. It looks a bit too serious, but it is true. We believe in what we do. I believe it's really important. We don't only work for the press. We work also for the collective memory, for history books, for your son, for my son, later, and when I'm not there anymore, he can see what happened in Ukraine. He's going to have pictures and our stories, day by day, minute by minute. If he wants to know, he can know. During the Second World War, some Germans said we didn't know about the camps. It was more or less believable. Today you can't say, I didn't know. Because with the internet, with all the press, you can say, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But that means you're responsible for what you don't know. It's a choice. So that's our job, is to never hear any more somebody say, I didn't know. And all the little group I'm with, friends, good friends, I can work with them because I know they're tough and they're not afraid and they're really serious the way they work. They won't make a stupid word or move to make the soldiers or the civilians go crazy. They won't be pushy. If somebody doesn't want his picture taken, we won't take it, unless he's doing something bad.
Have you ever, I guess, kind of a silly question, but maybe pertinent, in these cases, come across any other kind of injustices that are just so flagrant that you maybe have to denounce them?
Of course.
Yeah, and you did take.
Yeah.
You did take. Yes.
If they don't fire at me. And sometimes you can even save a life with your camera. Once there was in Guyana, which is a forgotten small war north of French Guiana. There was this rebels in the jungle that caught this old man and thought he was a spy. And the guy pulled out his gun, put it at his head, and was going to fire him. And I lifted my camera, and he said, "Don't take pictures. I got to shoot this guy." I said, "I'm here to take pictures of whatever's happening." So he kicked the guy in the face and let him go.
Okay.
Oops.
He didn't want any kind of,
That was lucky. He could have shot me or broke my camera. But there was a really small window of opportunity that made that he decided to let the guy go. Now, most of the time, if they're going to kill somebody, the only thing you can do for him is to witness it. Because if you come in, you'll probably get shot too, and then nobody will know what happened.
Have you ever sort of refrained from taking a picture because you know it would put you in danger?
No. It's always dangerous to take a picture on the front line.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's some kind of, there's some kind of guidelines. They'll say, okay, you can take pictures at this time, you can't take pictures at that time, right? Or you can't take pictures of our dead. You can't.
Yeah, but then you don't do it unless in the action you realize that the guy who died or the way he died is news. Otherwise, I won't. I'll take bodies, but I won't give them to the press.
Okay. So you have a lot of pictures you never actually...
Of course, because I don't trust the press enough to give them everything. I'm not there to put people in shock. I'm there to inform people. So if you have a horrible, strong picture, it's no use to show it. The people are going to close the newspaper. So, but I need to do all the pictures I can. I will refrain on nothing if I can do it. Because, again, I'm not only working for the press. I could work for the International Tribunal that'll need this picture of these 10 tortured guys without a head that I can't give to the press, of course. But I can give them as a witness of what happened. Sometimes you can't just hide behind your stupid press card. If you're the only witness, then your role will change. From a reporter, you'll become like a cop. And you'll try to find the idea of the dead guys and realize there's a pattern there of killing a race or an ethnic. So then you'll give it to the International Tribunal as a proof. A lot of reporters...
Do they do that anonymously, though? Do they, send those in?
No, not really.
No? They'll actually go up and just...
Well, no. Well, you can do it anonymously, but one of our reporters was taking hostage for 11 months, and one of his guards was the guy that fired at the synagogue in Brussels. And on the pictures, he recognized him. The police didn't know the name of the guy because it's a camera from the museum, and you see him firing at people, but it was just a face. But the guy, when he came back as a ex-hostage, the French Secret Service showed him pictures. Any of your guards or the guys you saw from Daesh are on our pictures. And they showed him this blurred picture of this guy in Belgium. He said, I know who this guy is.
Wow.
He was got torturing us for 11 months. He's from Morocco, French Moroccan. And the guy was pretty stupid. He took his AK-47 and took a bus from Belgium to south of France with his AK in his bag. And the police had enlarged the photo and had them on them. And when he came out of the bus in Marseille, they arrested him, found the gun, made the connection with the shooting in Brussels, and then my friend, reporter, was at the trial.
Okay.
Saying it's him.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But now he's carrying a gun in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was threatened by Daesh.
Okay.
So he's allowed to have a gun 24.
And he's just a reporter.
Yeah.
He's a war journalist.
Yeah. He's got a gun on him all the time, which is really rare in France, for a civilian to be allowed to have a gun.
And a concealed weapon at that.
Yeah.
I guess they make extreme
you see probably 10 people
cases, right? Yeah.
In France, in the whole of France. Probably.
After all these, I mean, like, atrocities and wars you've witnessed, I mean, it must have changed your vision of humanity.
Well, first of all, there's not only atrocities in war. War reveals people, and reveals their good side too. I've never seen so much generosity, bravery, sense of sacrifice. Never seen that so much in war than in peacetime. It reveals people. A coward or somebody who is not a good person, you'll see it immediately at war. It reveals the real character. There's no hiding who you are in war.
The yellow bellies will be seen right away.
Well, you can't. How do you say?
Can't hide.
Hold a grudge, you say, against people who are afraid. It's normal to be afraid.
Yeah.
So that's not the problem. It's the people who are traitors, bad people, who are selfish.
So you'd say it's reinforced your belief in humanity more than it has anything else?
Of course, yeah. I see more little traitors in peacetime who get away with it and become big bosses and rich and little bad people. I don't like them. And poor or rich, I don't care. It's not a question of being rich, but I see people getting away with little things. They would die in war.
Oh yeah,
they would be shot on the spot. You can't hide. I mean, and it reveals people. So I believe humanity has a real sense of strength and possibility. And plus that, I think war is a natural thing for men.
It's innate. To be bellicocious is innate, you think?
Yeah. I mean, you put two babies in one glass of milk, one of them is going to have a black eye and the other one's going to have the milk. It's in us. Peace is unnatural. Peace is a lot of work. Laws, education, parenting, police, judges, army, whatever. That's peace is work.
So you don't think that there'll ever be a time when there is, I guess, universal peace or peace around the world? That's impossible.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit. Yeah. That's just it.
There's good wars and bad wars. I mean, the wars you have to fight, like my father fought the Nazis, and there's wars that are not justifiable. And so you can say there's good and bad wars, But they'll never look at the history books. Every date, important date in any history book is war. There's never a date for peace. You know, it's always Napoleon, this king, this thing. There's always wars since the beginning. There's war in the Bible. There's war in the Quran. There's war everywhere. So we should realize it's part of us, and it would be the only way to stop it, to admit that it's part of us, like a sickness. So if you don't know the sickness, you can't find the medicine. You know, so that's also part of our job, to warn people. War could come to Europe now. Be aware of it and look at the signs here. Look what Gaza has done and Israel has done to the Jewish community here and the Muslim community. There's suddenly building up hate between the two communities. War is here. I mean, it's already here. And I know when I can see the signs, and I'm trying to tell the people, now is the time to be really careful and admit a Jewish or Muslim, who cares? I mean, just slow down, you know.
In these times of war, do you always try to sort of remain objective and never take sides?
Well, my heart will take sides.
Yeah.
But my camera won't.
Yeah.
I'll film, write, and take pictures of what I see. That's it. Of course, you know, when I had Daesh in front of me, I'm not going to go on the Daesh side because I'll cut my head off. And plus that, they blew up a club in Paris, so, and you have some French guys in Daesh. So then I would happily shoot them, you know. But it won't show in my film, on my cameras.
Yeah,
I mean,
course.
I'll show what I see. Well, the photos I took in Syria of the Daesh prisoners, you can see in their eyes that they'd love to kill me, but their hands are tied. So you can see I am their enemy. Normally, the Russians, well, yeah, that's not a good example, because the Russians, as where Europe is giving guns to Ukraine, I am the enemy of the Russians. Now, normally, on a story, I'm not part of it. In Salvador, I was not with the communists, and I was not with the tyrant. I was doing both, the army and the rebels. You know, so these wars are more complicated because we are at war. We're not admitting it, but by sending thousands of shells to the Ukrainians, our shells are killing Russians. So we are at war with Russians, and they know it. And with Daesh, I was at war too. So I was on one side, not the other side. But otherwise, I should not take side. I should facts, only facts. That's it. That's our job. It's up to you to take sides. I will offer you the possibility to take sides. You will have my pictures from the Ukrainian side. You'll have pictures from another reporter from the Russian side, and it's going to be your decision to take sides. We offer you what's happening. That's our job. And we have to be good. Because if your pictures are not good, or the way you write is not good, you're betraying the people that trusted you to tell their story. So you have an obligation to be very good in what you do. Otherwise, you're distorting what's happening, and they trust you. Are you going to tell my story? And it's really important.
Do you think that could be a potential problem now and in the near future with what's going on with how you can manipulate pictures with AI and different things?
It is a problem, of course. Now, the press is really watchful on that. I mean, even with Photoshop, there's I don't remember from which agencies, like Reuters or Associated Press. This photographer used a motor drive, which I don't, because I don't like. I like to control when I push. I take a picture, not have the camera do the job. But he had two pictures nearly similar. There was an American soldier in a perfect position and a veiled woman passing next to him. It would show it was in Afghanistan. But on the perfect picture, the American soldier, his gun was not perfect and his eyes were closed. On the next picture, his gun and eyes were perfect, but the woman's was too far. So he mixed the two pictures. He was fired.
Oh, okay.
Immediately.
They found out.
They check. Now with IE, it's going to be more complicated.
Yeah.
But every time there's a good picture, they check. They usually ask you for the pictures before and after to see the sequence. Like for the prizes for war pictures, if they like one picture, they'll ask you for the whole story and the originals.
And
So it is a problem because on internet, a lot of fake pictures are going to come out, and already do, without any caption, without any verification of nothing. So it is a problem, but it's already a problem with internet, with Facebook and all these things. You know, you can. I remember a guy sending me a picture of a dead guy who had about 20 knives in his body sticking out, and I was doing a story on the gangs in Brazil, and he said you could use that. I said, wow, thank you. I mean, maybe Paris Match will use that picture. It's a bit gore, but it shows the violence, the way the hate, so many knives. About 20 guys must have stabbed the same guy and left the knives as a message. Sorry. But I checked. When was this picture taken in Brazil and where? Because he's just in an open field. It was a guy killed in Mexico 10 years before. Had nothing to do with my story. So that's the danger. Because the people that look at internet, they don't know if the pictures have been checked out. So it's like free, you know. That's really dangerous. It's our worst enemy because what is our strength as reporters? Our credibility. If nobody believes us, what's the use of telling the story? And that started with Trump, you know, fake news. People don't like us anymore, don't believe us anymore. I hear all the time in taxis and Uber, the guy saying, so you're a reporter, so you're working for the government, or is it true what you say? Don't you make fake pictures? Or
I think it's just all propaganda, made up stories.
They don't believe us anymore. And that's why I do lots of conferences when I can in schools, universities, business clubs, whatever, to say to the guys, look, we are sincere. Anyway, on a war zone, who would take a risk with so little money if we're not sincere? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Most of the time, I mean, when you go on these reportages, these adventures, don't you like almost lose money or break even?
Yeah, break even or lose money. Like when you go for Paris Match, they'll pay all the expenses. So if you have 5 pages, you'll make 5,000 euros, which that means you'll get 3,800. So that's okay in 6 weeks. But many times, like once I went to Syria, I called Match and different newspapers. They were not interested. They said they had already done the story 2 weeks before. So I went there on my expenses. In the middle of the story, I had good pictures. I sent them. They did 5 pages. 5,000 euros, 3,800 at my bank. And I had spent 6 weeks there, and I had spent 3,000 euros. So I earned 800 euros in 6 weeks on a war zone. I remember once there was this American ranger in Afghanistan said, I was with a patrol, and he said, we've got this frog with us. He's a war photographer, famous war photographer. Hey, you must make a lot of money. I said, nah, not really. Then he called all the others, said, on me, hey, not only he's a frog, but he's an idiot. We've got an idiot with us. Put him on the front, point man. You know.
Can you, I don't have you or can you make money by selling some pictures after the fact?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. It used to be when you were in an agency because they were doing all the work.
Like Gamma or...
Yeah, that's when I was at Sigma. You would go immediately on a story. They would call you at 3 a.m, or you would call them. Because I read a lot. I have friends everywhere from agencies, so I call them sometimes and say, what's happening in your country? So I can feel things going to happen. So I would wake up all the time on purpose, my boss at Sigma, and say, you're not sleeping. I mean, He said, of course I'm sleeping. It's 3 a.m, Patrick. I said, you're a fucking bourgeois. You know, okay, give me money now. I'm leaving tomorrow at 6 a.m. He said, I hate you. So I'd come to his house. He had this special, money thing for the reporters like that. And I would leave without any contract. But while I was in the plane, the agency was calling Newsweek, Stern, Time Magazine, New York Times, Le Figaro. And once I would land, I already had contract with 3 or 4 newspapers. Nobody's doing that to us now. We're on our own. Plus that most of the newspapers have closed. They don't exist anymore. And who reads? When I make 5 pages in Paris Match, usually a friend will tell me, wow, your pictures were great, 6 months later, because he was at the doctor's.
Yeah.
He didn't buy Match, he just found it.
Or is it online maybe even?
Yeah, but
Yeah, no.
who will look at Paris Match online? I mean,
I don't look at Perry Match.
yeah,
So-
nobody. So I make money sometimes by filming, making documentaries. Collectors now, this is pretty new, about 10 years ago, people collect pictures, want them signed and with numbers.
For their private collection.
Yeah.
So that can be, like they can say, oh, we want something from Panama or we want something from
Well,
Vietnam or...
We used to make money with newspapers, and now we can make money on the wall in expos, because they'll pay you your rights for the expo. My pictures were sold at an auction once, so the price went from 250, well, it was francs, but euros to 4,000. So now my pictures, I can't go lower than 4,000, because otherwise the guy that bought it 4,000 is going to say, well, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, you're underselling.
If they're
it.
signed from 1 to 15 in a certain size, after I can make a smaller size, but it's a market. So like this year I sold 6 pictures, 4,000 euros,
Okay.
which helps.
Yeah, definitely.
And the conferences, and sometimes when the cameras became small, I could do both, which I couldn't do before because the cameras are like that. And it started in Panama. In Panama, I went out at 11 at night. We were having dinner. There was no press except Christopher Morris from Time Magazine and me from Newsweek. And we have CBS and NBC and CNN had come in, only the reporters. The cameraman was sent back at the border, at the airport. They said, no press. Chris Morris, who's American from Time Magazine, had the same idea as me. He also lived in Florida then. We knew that the press was not welcome. So I said to my girlfriend, okay, you're going to come with me. You're going to put a tiny shirt where everything's sticking out. We're going to buy a tiny red miniskirt. You're going to put high heels. And I'm going to come with you in Panama. And I bought some straps with flowers on. Really the idiot. And I had a short with flowers. And I arrived at the border, and the guy said, you've got 80 films. You're a reporter? I said, no, I'm a sailor. I'm going to go on a ship for 3 months at the canal. I'm getting on a ship. And so I'm taking pictures of... and he was like... and he went like, yeah, good, go. Yeah, and Chris came with a camera too.
Same thing.
And we were at the hotel. We'd been there for 3 or 4 days, and the guy from CNN told me, look, I don't have a camera, and I see you have a small camera. Can you work for me? I'll pay you $200 a day. I said, fuck off. I said, okay, I'll make a phone call. I said, please do. And he said, okay, how about $800 a day? I said, no, I'm more comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, well, we can talk business.
Yeah. And I started taking pictures of the streets, and then there was this road goes through the American base next to Panama City, all the way to the beach. The Americans are allowed to have the base, but they're not allowed to stop people from going to the beach from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, because it's a Panamanian road. But there is a barrier. So I went with my girlfriend to the beach, and she came back alone. And I hid myself on the base. And I stayed 2 days, 2 nights, and I saw military planes come in. Many. at 1 in the
You're
morning.
just hiding,
Yeah, I was hiding.
stuck in some place for like 48 hours.
I took everything I needed, water and the plane started coming out. I started filming. Then she came to the beach next day. I went on the beach with her and took me back. And I gave it to the CNN guy, and I said, they're coming. Because everybody was saying, are they going to attack? Are they not going to attack? I said, they're coming. I saw planes arriving, lots of planes, military personnel coming out. So, okay, you work for me. I don't have a camera. 11 o'clock at night, the next day, I feel something's wrong in the city. It's very quiet. I said to my girlfriend, okay, we're having dinner with Jim Morris, drinking at a nice hotel.
Chris Morris,
yeah. A nice hotel. And I said to my girlfriend, okay, let's go to the room. I said, Chris, going to the room, and I'm hot. And he laughs, and I go to the room. And in the room, I said to my friend, okay, I'm going to put some dark clothes. Don't get out of the hotel. I have a bad feeling. I call my taxi driver. I said, come and pick me up. He says, no, it's not good night. I said, it's a good night. Come and pick me up. I want to go around the city. And he said, I have 20 kids. I said, yesterday you had 2. Yeah, he said, well, it's dangerous. So I said, okay. So I go back the back door of the hotel because I don't want Morris to see me leave. He's having fun with his girl. I go in the taxi and we ride, and it's really bizarre. Nobody in the streets. And suddenly the sky becomes white at about 2 kilometers ahead of us, where there's the Panamanian army camp. And then a big bang comes, and then American helicopters firing, and a crowd of people arriving in front of us. The taxi driver goes nuts. He hits a wall, loses control of the car, and he's like crazy of fear. So I said, okay, meet me at the hotel tomorrow. And I just run out towards the people and start taking pictures. It's the attack. The Americans are attacking.
Oh, wow.
I spend the whole night in the streets taking film and pictures. I get back to the hotel in the morning. The hotel is half destroyed. There's dead bodies in the lobby. My girl has vanished. She's been taken hostage.
No.
The rebels came in the hotel, and they asked the manager the list of the hotel guests.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking for Americans to take hostage. He refuses to give them a list. They kill him. A cameraman is killed, and they tried to go to the rooms, and then they leave, saying they're going to come back. I arrive at that moment.
And Chris was taken as well?
No, his wife also with mine.
And Chris is where?
He's hiding in a room.
Oh, wow.
Because he came out in the morning, and when he came back, his wife was gone. And so I go to my room, and I call CBS. They're in another room. And I say, I'm the French photographer. And they're hiding in the room because the guys didn't find them. And I say, they're going to find the list. You're on the list. Get to my room because I'm French. They're not looking for French. So they all got in my room. They put mattresses against the door. I took some films and went out. And then I came back to the hotel. They was in a small office hiding CBS guys. And they see me, and I'm really dirty. I've been calling. And they say, you were out in the night? I said, yes. Shit, you're the only one has the 3rd time in history of America that we have a D-Day, landing. Give us the film, $20,000. I said, $20,000? The guy said, okay, you're the only one. It's just. Then the door opens. CBS guy comes in and said, Patrick, I heard you filmed last night. The guy from NBC, or I don't know which one, says, well, no, he's working for us. I said, no, I'm working for nobody. The guy says, okay, 50,000. And then CNN comes in, and they start arguing, and then they say, Patrick, get out of the room. They close the door, and then they come out. One guy comes out and says, Patrick, $120,000 now, but you must give us your tapes now because we have an opening for the satellite to send it out before they cut everything. And so it's now or nothing. I say, okay, we hit hands. They give the tapes, they choose very fast. They send a guy with a copy of a shorter film, of course, running out. And then we have coffee. And they say, okay, we're going to call New York and have a contract. And then we hear gunshots in the hotel. The guys have come back.
The rebels, yeah.
Yeah, and they're shooting, and I can see them coming out the stairs at that floor. So the guys come out with their hands up, the Americans, and I stay in the office, and I take all my tapes, and I put them in the trash with paper on top, and I come out like that. And then they put us lying down in the lobby, faced like that, and they ask for our passports. And he sees I'm French, he said, and I'm like this, and there's the producer next to me who just said 120,000. I said, "You're going to keep your
word, yeah.
Your word." And the guy said, "Fuck off, Patrick. This is not time." He was like fucking pissing on himself. And then they free me. I feel bad for them because they keep them. Mm-hmm. And then I remember the elevator. You can see it comes to the ground floor. The door opens. You have like 5 foreigners who thought they could run away. And there's an AK in their face.
Oh my gosh.
And the guy says, okay, nationality, British, go. American? The guy says, yeah, on the ground. They took them hostage for like 3 weeks.
And your wives were hostage for that one?
Yeah, for 1 week. And then the next day I was shot.
Oh, when you were out in the fields? Oh, wow. So you were shot the next day. Your wife is hostages at this point?
Yeah, I don't know if she's free or not. Yeah.
And did they torture them or anything?
No. Well, anyway, she said no.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't think she's going to lie to you.
No, I don't think so. No, when she was freed, they took her to the French embassy, and there this American photographer came in and said, "I'm so sorry." She said, "What do you mean?" "I'm so sorry. Your friend is at the hospital. He's badly wounded." And she was like. She couldn't go to the hospital. There's too much fighting. It's the French embassy finally found an American, called the Americans, and they brought an armored car to take her to the hospital. So I worked for the Americans, and finally they paid $120,000.
Really, they did.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
4 months later, I never had such a big phone bill on my room because CBS, NBC, and other guys that I put in my room kept calling Washington.
Oh my gosh!
But they paid it, and so after many times I would take a camera, and the guys from CBS knew me. And I remember I was in Somalia, '93. Month before, they had killed 7 reporters, cut their heads off, stabbed them, and so all the press by reaction said we're leaving the country.
Yeah. Well.
Newsweek called me and said if you can go, if you want to go, you'll pay double day rate, $800 a day instead of $400. I thought, okay, the chief of the rebels, General Aidid, usually wants to talk to the press, is trying to get the press to think he's right against the Americans. It was probably a mistake that these reporters were killed by guys who were really angry because there was a bombing that killed lots of civilians, and whiteface is whiteface. So probably it's the best time to come. I'm not sure. So I arrive in Mogadishu, and there's nobody in the press hotel except 2 or 3 guys, like a Portuguese photographer who's really nuts. And so I called the CBS guy. They're in a house, but they have orders not to come out. They have insurances, Americans. And so I call them, and I go to their house, and I say, look, my driver is cousin with one of the bodyguards of General Aidid that the Americans are trying to kill. And he's in the Baqara market, which is the nest of the rebels, the guys who killed all the press. And the guy said, okay, you're working for us, $1,000 a day. Here's a small camera. They call me the expendable frog. So I went with my driver, waiting to get an interview with Aidid. I'm having tea, and all these guys with guns and skirts, it's not very comfortable. My driver's a bit scared. He said, they're my people, but, they killed some German press, English press. Serious, but I did accept it for the interviews. I'm not going to, kill.
Say yes and then kill you, yeah.
Yeah, he said, yeah, but, people can get nervous. And suddenly, everything goes apeshit. People start running, pointing at the sky. My driver said, we must go. I said, wait a minute, what's happening? He said, I don't know. Helicopters, Americans, they're coming in, and I run out and I see guys shooting in the sky. I take pictures. Nobody notices them because there's panic. And forget the interview. They're looking for Haiti. I did. And then I see this Black Hawk go down, and 1,000 guys run towards the helicopter, and the Americans go apeshit. They start firing. And there's a 2-day gun battle, and I see a second Black Hawk fall down.
Whoa.
And I'm the only one. I'm the only fucking reporter, except a Canadian guy who's there. And it's the film, Black Hawk Down. You saw that film?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I was there. I was with the rebels. So I've got the pictures of the down helicopters. I've got the guys shooting at the Americans. And I'm in the middle of it, for 2 days. And I remember the guy from CBS said, shit, you working for the CIA or something? Because in Panama, you're there before.
Yeah,
now
right.
You're with IDIT. How do you know this? I said, I didn't know. Come on. I was just trying to make an interview with the guy. It just happened. So I have guys dancing on the chopper. And
wow. And they didn't care you were there or taking pictures at that point.
At one moment, women started throwing stones and sticks at me, and it started getting really bad. And my driver just ran away, and I started running, and because they excited the men, they started chasing me. I was running. I remember I turned the corner and I checked, and there was about 500 guys running with sticks and swords and AKs, and I started running, and I thought my driver had abandoned me, but he had gone to take the car, and I arrived at the end of a small street, and the pickup arrived, and I just jumped in the back and left.
Oh, wow.
I went to another place where the fighting was going on really strong, so I just got close to one of the guy firing, and he looked at me and just went on. Then a cameraman came, and he was killed immediately. He's lasted 10 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I found myself face to face with American soldiers suddenly, taking the wrong street. So I took pictures of the Americans fighting, then back to the guys with skirts. It was completely crazy.
After a day like that, I mean, how do you go back to the hotel and sleep? I mean, do you get any sleep or?
No, for 2 days, no. But
Yeah.
after you get to the hotel, they have champagne, Actually, I went to the villa of the Americans. It was funny because they paid me a lot of money, and the guy made me sign, that he gave me, I don't know, it was like $15,000.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, you gave me $12,000, but I'm signing a bill of $20,000. And he said, and the whole crew was sitting around the table, were like holding their breath. And I said, okay, I get it. I signed, and they share the 8,000 amongst themselves after.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's a non-written deal.
Yeah, I know. Police
But anyway, I mean, that happened, and I remember when Ridley Scott made the film, he sent different people to interview the American soldiers, of course, and suddenly this guy called me out of nowhere, an American guy, and said, okay, I'm working for the Ridley Scott, we're preparing a film. We saw your pictures. We would like to see more and talk about it.
Wow.
So they bought some pictures, and I told them a few anecdotes, and it probably helped, because everything you see in the film is true. It's romanced, of course, but the guy who loses his life because he got a bullet in the femoral, I remember that story, and the pilot, the helicopter pilot who survived, Duran, I remember I was with the rebels, and the American helicopter 2 days after was going over, and with a loudspeaker saying, Duran, Duran, we're not forgetting you, Duran, Duran, hold on, Duran, we're talking with him, Duran, giving messages to him to keep his. It was really strange, that voice coming from the sky.
Wow.
And the two guys, I saw the bodies of the two guys who sacrificed themselves, trying to help. They decided to go down, special force, two or three guys. I didn't take the pictures, but the Canadian guy was there when they dragged the bodies naked in the street.
Oh my God.
Took their uniforms and dragged them as a victory. He took the pictures. He was a writer, a great Canadian guy, but he had a small camera. So that was, things happened. But then it became a deal with the Americans. Each time I would go somewhere, I would call them, and they'd say, "Okay, the expendable frog, take a small camera." It's not because they're not good, but they're heavy crews.
Yeah.
They're like 5 or 6 people. They have expensive insurances, and sometimes they have a limit they're not allowed to cross. But they're probably the best. I mean, in Ukraine, they did incredible stuff. They lost a lot of people, actually, that were killed. Because they have the money, they have the power, they have the best fixtures, the best cars, armored cars. They have a surgeon with them. They have a military advisor. But that makes like 2 armored cars, nearly 8 people. I'm alone with an Ukrainian guy. So I can move faster and go,
What we haven't talked about is the fact that you said these other people have like a paramedic and other people.
Yeah.
But you always carry like a medicine bag with you.
Yeah, of course.
And that comes in real handy.
Well, it would have come, it came a bit handy in Panama because I had, how do you say, betadine. It's like
Yeah, I know what it is. It's disinfectant.
this brown thing they use in the hospitals.
I think it's the same thing in English, but I can't remember.
But then I didn't have the bandages that I needed. So I cut my sleeve, put it in a bowl, put some betadine on it, shoved it in the back hole, took my belt off, put it higher, and pulled, so it made a pressure bandage. Now I have anticoagulant bandages. So you put some powder and then you stuff everything and it'll stop. Now you have to know how to do it, because if you have a deep hemorrhage here or here, okay, you put the tourniquet. I have 3 tourniquets. It's not only for me, it could help a friend or a civilian or a soldier. Because if you put the anti-clot, the clot bandage powder, you have to go really deep, because sometimes you'll stop the blood on surface, but there's underneath river of hemorrhage.
Okay, yeah, it's still bleeding.
You have to know how to do this. You can kill yourself if you don't know how to do this. You think you're safe and you're going to die. So I take lessons as soon as I can, usually non-official lessons. If I'm going to wait like I did in Afghanistan, they put you to a FOB, a forward observation base or operation base. Sometimes you'll spend a week in the base before there's anything happening, and they'll take you out of the wire on patrol. So there's nothing else to do than move around the camp. Now, porno films, talking to your wife on a stupid screen, or building up your body like a monster. But there's the tent with a medical. There's a surgeon there, a war surgeon, or anyway, a tough crew about medicine. And they want to win the hearts and minds of the Afghans. So from 8 to 10, the village people come with their sick, and sometimes they have to operate a leg. Then I ask them to come in the tent and watch, and if I can, put my hands in the dirt.
Assist, yeah.
So as soon as I can, I do that. And so now I know how to clamp an artery, try to find it. It stinks, it's slippery. The guy's yelling. I mean, it's not just, you have to put your hands in it to understand. Because if you're in panic, you only have like 3 minutes, and it's shooting and all that shit. So I try to keep up with that, and it's important. And plus that it helps. You go on once I was with these Americans again, many times with the Americans, actually, in Afghanistan again. And the guy said, okay, the frog, you're going to come with us. This is an operation where we have a medic because it can be dangerous. Are you sure you want to come? If you come, don't stay next to the officer because the snipers will understand. He doesn't even stay next to the radio because the guy next to the radio is the officer. That's the first guy they're going to shoot is the radio man, the doctor, and then the officer to cripple the patrol. Target is the medic, radio officer. So they don't wear their signs. And then, they were a bit pissed to have this fucking reporter there. And then the
Are they
medic...
obligated to take you? How does that work
of course.
exactly?
You have the press officer that comes and says, okay, she's the commander. The PR decide this French guy is cool. He's working for Newsweek. He's going to be with you for 15 days. And the other guy said, oh, fuck.
So the majority of the time they see you as dead weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to fucking babysit.
Yeah, and that's because lots of reporters, some reporters, let's say, do 2 or 3 wars because they want to put that on their
resume or whatever.
Yeah. So they come with the wrong shoes. They don't have any food. They don't have a sleeping bag.
They're probably pretty scared.
And they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, the guy saw I had everything I needed. I had a big knife. I had my food. I had pills to put in the water. I had my sleeping bag, and he saw this thing with the Red Cross saying, you have a medical kit? I said, yeah. Can I see it? That was the medic. I opened it. He said, well, do you know how to use this? I said, yeah. How do you use it? So I explained what to do and not to do. He says, okay, you're missing one thing. I'll tell you. Then I'll give you these 2 bandages and this tourniquet. I said, okay. I put it back on. And he says to the guys, on me. So the whole patrol comes around. So the frog here, if I'm overpowered, he can help. He's a medic too. Immediately, they love you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're in. So
That's
it
good.
helps in different ways. That's what I try to tell to young reporters. Don't go with nothing. Learn how to save lives, guys, because you can save yours or a friend. Timothy Harrington, he was a great English photographer, British. He was wounded in the leg in Libya. He was with a photographer that didn't know anything. They put him in a truck to take him to the hospital, 20 minutes drive. The guy held his hand. Tim died.
Yeah.
You would have put a tourniquet, he'd be amongst us. Maybe he'd lose a leg.
Yeah.
And if it's too high, just put your fucking boot and step on the guy. It's going to squash the artery. Or put your fucking fist in the hole, whatever.
Yeah.
20 minutes, he can make it. But holding his hand, after 10 minutes, he's gone. It was a stupid death.
Yeah.
And the other photographer, Chris Hondros, an American, half his head was cut off. There was like two photographers dead and one wounded. So that example, I give it all the time to the young press. I said, guys, you can save your friend, you can save anybody, a woman, a kid. Come on, guys. You can't just hide behind your press card and say, this is not my business. I have no opinion. Come on, guys. You're human. The guy who you're watching, you're suffering. You're not just a camera. You're a man facing a man who's suffering. You
Might as well be useful, or at least
at least
make an effort to try.
Yeah, and you don't have to brag about it after. So if some idiot who's been to press school says you're not allowed to take sides, fuck him.
Yeah.
And plus that, don't tell the story. Don't ask, don't say, whatever. But be a human being. I mean, Jesus, where people are suffering and you're the guy, you're healthy, you come from a comfortable world, you have the equipment. If you have to help, usually, most of the time you don't need to help, because when the guy goes down, his friends are there. They'll take care of him immediately. So you're best useful by taking a picture of what's happening to denounce what's happening than trying to help people who are already helping. But if you're the only guy, the only witness, the only guy that can help, put your cameras aside and help. And that happens sometimes when somebody will have his hand cut off and there's nobody around. Help him.
Yeah. I just wanted to get around to one last question before we go. And I know that you've been most recently in Palestine and in Israel.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about how today there's a lot of red tape and a lot of hoops to jump through. Like
Yeah,
in
you
order-
can't get in Gaza.
Yeah.
No way. They did some trips for big media, CNN, BBC, but it's. I mean, I'd like to do that trip, but it's not reporting; it's propaganding. I mean, you're going in an armored car. You can't see anything because everything's closed for your security. I hate that word. We can't take you, Patrick. It's for your security. It's dangerous. I said, come on, guys. What do you think I'm doing? Pictures of dancing?
Yeah.
And so they take you in this armored car through bumpy roads. Then suddenly they let you out and they say, you're going to go with this patrol. We're going to show you a tunnel, show you guns in the hospital that we found. We have no proof. Don't take his face. Don't take his face. You have a press officer with you. You can talk to him. Probably the third time this guy's talking to the press, the same speech. Then back, you can stay 2 or 3 hours. Then back. So I tried. I mean, I put my list on a name. I'm still waiting. I'm waiting. This commander, who's a friend, said to the army, I trust him. I will go with him in Gaza. So that will help. It's, for the moment, I have no answer. Going through Egypt, you can't for the moment. I mean, as soon as it opens, I'll go. So I went on the border of Gaza, I went to the kibbutz, of course, with Israel, and to the territories.
So are you taking like a telescopic lens and taking pictures across that way?
No, you can't. It's too
can't.
far.
No.
No, you can see buildings and flames, but you can't see the bodies. You can't.
So you're really still really far away from it then?
2 kilometers.
Okay, yeah.
There's a hill, which I hate. You have about 50 TVs with long lenses, eating sandwiches with the camera on all the time, showing Gaza under the bombs. You've probably seen those images.
I have.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. The Palestinians in Gaza are doing a great job, but
Also being killed.
80, more than 80. Nearly all the press that exists there is gone. And some of them I knew. And but they're Palestinians. I mean, I trust them, I know them, they're good people. The photographers, they work for Newsweek, also for International, but they are Palestinians. You need somebody from outside to verify the information, verify the figures, to say what they have done is incredible and it is true. I don't doubt them, but to be clear, you need always somebody to verify. Like,
Fact check, yeah.
Yeah, like BBC checked, when they said that the Israelis had bombed the hospital, and in the end it was Hamas that had a rocket that fucked up. And the BBC took like 3 weeks, but they checked, and they had satellite images and all kinds, and finally we got the truth. Now the Palestinians were saying it's the Israelis, because they speak with their hearts, and they're Palestinians. You need a foreign press, independent press, who can say, wait a minute, we're not against you, but the truth is, it's you that fucked up.
Yeah.
Now, since then, the Israelis are really killing a lot of innocent people, and it's a tragedy, because I have lots of friends in Israel that are more or less left for peace, and they're broken heart because they know there's inevitable tragedy going on, killing too many Palestinians, but in the same time they have this hatred because of all those 1,000 people killed and raped and tortured. And but Netanyahu made a mistake. He should have waited and sent commandos in the tunnels and maybe kill some important people of Hamas in different countries, the way they know how to do that, because the people have stayed focused on the dead Israelis. Nobody talks about the dead Israelis anymore. Everybody's talking about the dead Palestinians.
Yeah.
He made a mistake. He fell in the trap of Hamas. He did exactly what Hamas wanted. They wanted them to come in and fight, Hamas doesn't care about the dead. It's part of their logic, the logic of death. La dialectique de la mort, the dialectic of death. The more you kill civilians, the more you'll have volunteers to fight against the Israelis. It's the contrary than Israel. Israel, each time they have a dead, it's a tragedy. Palestinians, it's a tragedy for the family of the dead and civilians, of course. But for the Hamas, it makes more volunteers. It proves that the Israeli is bad. They use it. They hide behind their own people. It's part of. They've always done that. So it's going to be long. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to tell the story. And it's going to be bloody dangerous, because the Israelis have a tendency of shooting at the press when they make very precise mistakes.
Very precise mistakes.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, I have a friend that was shot in the leg. There was nothing happening. He was talking to a Palestinian girl. There's a hotel there was a hotel in Hebron. I think it was in Hebron, with camouflage in abandoned hotel. There was Israeli army in there. And about 200 meters from there, he was talking to a woman. Bang, one shot here, through the knee. Fuck off, He's paralyzed from here down.
Oh, wow.
They had to put his foot, block his foot like that. Otherwise,
so
he had to change his motorcycle things.
Oh, yeah.
So he can brake, but he can't lift. So he was shot, and everybody knew where it came from. Yeah, so...
And so you're still waiting to get back there? You're waiting for a visa?
Yeah. And Ukraine also, if they move more than 1,000 centimeters, I'll go.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today. It's great to be informed about what's going on.
Well, the main thing
lines.
is, these. I'm talking for my comrades from any country, Palestinian, Israeli photographers that are incredible people, Lebanese, Ukrainian photographers. I mean, actually, one I think won an Oscar, or was going to win an Oscar for what he filmed in Mariupol, an Ukrainian cameraman. We're all doing it because we believe that it's useful. Now, we can be drunk fighters, going too fast with bikes, divorcing, and joking stupid jokes on the ground. But we work seriously, and we really believe that it helps.
Yeah, to have that.
At least there's a witness of what happened. So
maybe, like you said, a fact checker, because like you said, I mean, what they're presenting right now in Palestine, those people, they're good people, and they're not probably
and the people in the kibbutz that were killed were probably the best friends of the Palestinians, because to be so close to Gaza was usually, in the kibbutz there, were usually left people from the left, that a lot of them spoke Arabic.
Yeah.
They killed the wrong people. They should have killed Netanyahu,
Yeah.
Because he's an extremist like the Hamas. The extremist religious guys who are in the government of Israel now, with Netanyahu, are like the Hamas. One Palestinian woman who had lost her kid, I interviewed her, and she said, we have terrorists that are Palestinians, of course, kamikazes. But Israelis also have terrorists, and usually they're in uniform.
Yeah.
Not all, she said, not all soldiers, but they have terrorists. We have terrorists on both sides.
Or they could be in suits.
Yeah, of course.
With ties.
And what he's doing, Netanyahu, is trying to eradicate the Palestinians from Gaza. He wants them to leave. They're building a highway from Be'eri kibbutz, the one of them that was really hard attacked, which is center-south of Gaza. So you have Gaza, you have the sea, you have Be'eri kibbutz here, Gaza here, north, south. This is Be'eri kibbutz and the sea. They're building a highway right in the middle, from the kibbutz, from Israel to the sea. They're cutting Gaza in two, making it impossible to exist. And they're doing it now. They're already building the highway signs.
This has been in the works for a while, then.
They don't need much time. They like 50 bulldozers. It's not wide.
Yeah.
That's like 5 kilometers. It's nothing. And Israelis are good builders. Look what they did in 60 years. There was a desert, and now there's Tel Aviv. There was 3 houses, and now there's Jerusalem. There's,
A thriving nation.
yeah, at the expense of the other guys. But the problem with the
other people,
Palestinians is
yeah.
that nobody likes the Palestinians, not even the Arabs. It's a flag for the Arabs. It's political. It's Iran that used Hamas against the deal with Saudi Arabia, which is Sunni. The Saudi Arabia and the Americans were making a deal with Israel, and the Shia Iranians were losing their power in the Middle East because of that.
Well, aren't the Saudis and the Americans the one who are supporting the war in Yemen as well?
Yeah, against Iran. Iran-backed Houthi. So Iran was starting to lose its political power because of the deal with Saudi Arabia, America, and Israel. So they helped Hamas to prepare for this, and it's like they took the fucking table and just threw it with all the food. They completely changed the whole screen by doing that, by doing the most horrible things they could to trap Israel into a hard reaction and put Israel in deep shit now. So now even the Americans are starting to say to Israel, slow down, you know.
What do you see happening in the foreseeable future? I mean, do you see any way out of it for them?
No. Once you start a war, it's going to be really hard to stop it. It's like a monster. You create a monster and then you lose the control. War has its own life. So when you ask me what I think, I can't tell you because I'm going to be wrong. That's why I'm a reporter. I'm always wrong.
Well, you have to come back after you do your next mission.
Yeah.
In Palestine and Israel. Let us know. Once again, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
And sharing your stories with us.
I think you have lots of things to cut. Not my balls, the bowels.
No.
Bon vent, mes camarades.